Guys, so I decided to kind of film this instead of trying to show you live because as we saw yesterday, there's a lot of things I can't really show you when it's plugged in. So a couple of things I want to point out first. So you know that these are your tools over here, right? And so we know our selection tool is kind of the main tool, the one that we can use to move full objects around, or we can also use to kind of manipulate frames if we want. And did you see how I did that? If you click on that little square right here in the bottom left corner, or there's one right here, you can use that to manipulate the frame that holds your content. Okay? And if you double click on your image, now I'm messing with the actual photo itself. And if I come down here and I pull this up, this brown box without holding anything, it's going to mush my photo. Okay? So if you want to manipulate the photo itself, maybe make it bigger, you've got to hold Command and Shift. Okay? All right. So over here, you should notice that if you hover over these specific tools, it'll tell you what they do, which is super helpful. So sometimes if you might forget what the tools do, if you just hover over them, it'll tell you. Also, another thing I want to point out is this bottom right corner. Do you see that little arrow? There's one here, there's one here, and here, and here. Those tell you that there are other options on that tool. So if I click and hold on that tool, other tools are going to pop up. They're usually all related, but there's just more than one thing you can do. So if I click and hold on the type tool, I have an option to make a type or a text box, or I can type on a path. So that'll come in handy later. The eyedropper tool, some of you have kind of seen this. If you click on here, you can either do the eyedropper tool or the measure tool. Some of them say eyedropper with a theme. I think your guys say that. But when you're using the eyedropper tool today, make sure that it's just the plain Jane eyedropper tool guy looking like that. So that's kind of helpful. You also might have noticed this little hand tool. He's kind of fun. What he does is he can pull you down and pull you up to look at certain aspects of a page. So if you're zoomed in too much and you want to see what's up higher, you can use the hand tool to kind of guide your way. And then you also have obviously a zoom tool. So if you know you're working with something specifically, you can zoom in to kind of mess with that. I always use Command plus and minus, or Command 0 will give you a screen look like this. I think that's just faster to use, but that's my personal preference. So there's some things I want to show you that I didn't get to the other day. I'm going to come up and grab my selection tool again. And if I click on my photo, this one right here, I can tell that there's no black box around it. Not only can I not see a black box, but if I come up here, it says 0 point. That's where my black box would be. So you're supposed to have a 0.5 box around all of your photos. There's a couple of ways. You could either type in 0.5, or if you click right here, you can drag. Once you get the 0.5 in there, it is important to check and make sure that it's actually black. If this color right here is not black on your screen, like maybe it's green, that means your box is going to be green. So if we zoom in a little bit more, I'll show you that green box. Pew, pew. Yeah, green box, no bueno. So we're going to go ahead and change that to a black box. Sometimes, I mean, maybe you want to have a green box, but for normal page design, we try to keep things black and white. Another thing I wanted to show you, so we played with the eyedropper tool. I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to draw my box where I want it. I need to make sure, if you come, look right here, you have two boxes. One's the stroke, meaning the outline, and then one's going to be the fill, meaning the color that goes on the actual inside. We want to be on the fill. We're going to click the eyedropper tool, make sure your box is selected, click your eyedropper tool, and then you can pull that color from somewhere else. Now I've pulled that color. Somebody asked the other day, how do I pull a different color? Let's say maybe I don't want blue, let's say I want gray. What you have to do is click away from the eyedropper tool and then do it again, because that eyedropper tool is loaded with that blue. So if I wanted it to be gray, now I can click. You can also tell that the eyedropper tool is white right now. When I click and I pull a color, it's gray. That's kind of cool, because what that means is if I came to another box, like this About Me box, and I highlighted it, now it's gray because I have that color pulled. So that's kind of cool, but we don't want that gray. All right, now we have this other problem. Why is this box blocking everything? We've played with this yesterday. Object, arrange. We're going to send that box to the back so that I can see the rest of my things that were in here. Another super important tool that I don't think we've really talked about or played with is the ruler. If you click on the top, if you click on this ruler guy right here and you drag down, you're going to get a ruler. And this is important because page design is so specific. Like, you have to be exact when you're designing. So you can pull that ruler down. And if you notice, I'm going to try and match it with that picture of me in Barcelona. Hi, College Sarah. We're going to match it perfectly. Oh, it's kind of hard. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Yes, it is that important to be exact. And we'll do it again. Bam. All right. So now what that means is I can come over to my gray box. I can click on it and I can drag it down until it touches. Notice that I use this box and not this box. If I use this box, then I'm also going to manipulate the side of the text. Okay, so it just gets a little more complicated. I think it's probably easier to just use this box. We also want to use our guide, so I'm going to tuck in this box so that we have this nice gutter here. Perfect. All right, and there is my box. You also might look at this and say, hey, Semmel, those photos don't look lined up at all. They all look kind of warped. I did that on purpose to show you that we can also use this ruler tool to manipulate our photos. So I did this earlier. I pulled down a ruler tool, and now I'm going to hold Command and Shift and stretch this photo until it hits the same point as that photo. Perfect. Now you also should notice that this space right here, let me zoom in. This space right here is smaller than this space here. That's not awesome. We want those spaces to be the same. So I'm also going to take this photo and drag it over a little bit. Now, if you're at the point where you feel comfortable with this and you want to get super specific, what I usually do to make sure that these are the same width apart, because it still looks like they're not equal, is I might draw a box in between them. And then I'll fill that box with any color that's not the color I'm working with. And now I know that this is the width from here to here. And what's that point? It's the height. Actually, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and make it we'll make it a 0.5 pica by a 0.5. Let's do that. All right, so I'm going to make it this box down. I'm going to pull my ruler till it lines up with that box. Now these photos need to come down. Perfect. Perfect. And then I need them to be this far apart from each other. And I actually want this photo of Meredith to come in a little more. And then I'll have Blake's photo go to here. So now these should both be half a pica apart from each other, which is nice. Okay, and then the last big thing I wanted to show you, I think it's the last thing. Yep, last big thing. So the eyedropper tool we use to pull color, but you can also use it to pull fonts or styles. So if I grab my eyedropper tool and I pull this About Me style, I can come over to my other headline, this requirements for your page, double click the whole thing, and all of a sudden it's the exact same font, style, size as the About Me. Which comes in handy a lot when you're designing. Oh, there's one more thing I want to show you. It's kind of simple. If you have a list down here and you want to use bullets, like a little bulleted list, if you come to type, you can go down to bullets and numbered lists and apply bullets. If you don't want this big space to happen, which happens when you do apply bullets, you can also just do this. It's a little more tedious. So I'm at the very beginning right here. Right here, type, insert special character, symbols, bullet character. And then all I have to do is Command copy, Command paste. So it's Command C, whoops, Command V. Command C is copy, so if you highlight something, Command C, and then you press Command V. Pretty simple. What I want you to do today is just work on finishing your About Me page. Try and make it a little more fancy if you have finished. Make sure your measurements are exact. Play around with the fonts a little bit. Just make sure it's clean and composed and your packages are very clearly separated. All right.